Hi, I'm Heather Hocker, President and CEO of the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra, and this is Clef Notes. I'm excited to introduce you to our musicians, guest artists, community members, and patrons who for 80 years have developed a love of music through your Lubbock Symphony here on the South Plains. On today's episode, I'm visiting with Kim Hudson, Crew of Columbia endowed principal flautist of the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra, and her work not just with the Lubbock Symphony, but with her private studio here in Lubbock. Kim, thank you for joining me on Cliff Notes.
Good morning, Heather. Thank you for having me.
Kim, share with our audience your background and why did you decide to play the flute?
It actually is kind of amusing. It wasn't really my first choice. I wanted to be a singer, but my older sister had played flute in school, and there were a couple of flutes in the house. So, of course, being very practical, my parents thought maybe I should try flute and just see if I liked it, maybe try it for a year. So I did end up starting on flute in sixth grade, and by Christmas time, I was absolutely in love with it and started private lessons after that point and never looked back.
I love it. Okay, so take us through middle school and then high school, and you grew up south of Houston.
Yes.
Tell us about that journey, and then you headed off to U of H. So talk about that.
Yes, middle school, pretty typical. First couple of years learning the instrument. And then when I got to high school, I had a really great opportunity not only to, of course, be a part of the band program, but we had a symphony orchestra program in my high school. So I was able to play in that organization for 4 years, which is where I fell in love with orchestral music and orchestral flute. I had a terrific orchestra program and director. Part of with teaching for me, it actually did start when I was in high school. My lesson teacher at the time thought it would be good for me after she consulted with band directors and my orchestra director that maybe I should start teaching flute privately. So when I was a junior, I had just a couple of middle schoolers, sixth grade and seventh grade, and kind of fell in love with tutoring and teaching flute one-on-one at that point. And I don't know if it was just because they thought it was something that I had an interest in or something they thought I would be good at, but that is rather young to start private teaching. But I did. And so my junior and senior year, I had a couple of kids that would come to the house with half-an-hour lessons. And it was really fun to get to start and mold these young flutists. And it taught me a lot about working one-on-one with flute kids.
So did you also march with your flute in high school?
I did march, with the exception of my senior year, where I was one of the drum majors. But yes, I marched flute, and that's a big experience in the state of Texas.
I've known you, Kim, for almost 30 years. I did not realize, or I had forgotten that you were a drum major your senior year in high school. That's a lot of responsibility because you are in charge on that field every Friday night in the fall in Texas.
Yes. And I had a great time. I had a classmate, another girl, and we were quite a fun duo. We enjoyed it, and it was a great year. And I loved the responsibility and marching and conducting and all of those things. It was fun.
And then you headed off to U of H, and then eventually to Texas Tech. And share with us, you have a number of mentors that you worked with, both in Houston and in Lubbock. Talk about that experience and talk about what the average person does not know about running a private studio and the work that goes into that.
Okay. In Houston, I, of course, studied at the University of Houston with the late Byron Hester, former principal flute of the Houston Symphony. And in his passing, my senior year, his doctoral candidate, Sidney Carlson, took over the teaching. So I was fortunate enough to study with Byron in his very last couple of years and then transition to working with Sidney Carlson, which was, to me, his greatest protege. And then, of course, coming to Lubbock and studying at Texas Tech with Dr. Lisa Garner-Santa. All of these teachers had a profound impact on me as a player and inspiring me to want to teach and work with students one-on-one. I guess because I've been teaching one-on-one for so many years now, you feel like each year you get a little bit better in reaching students on their own level because they are not a one-size-fits-all situation. And learning to work with them and reach them is the hardest part of the job and also the most rewarding part. So I wonder sometimes if people not being familiar with how a private studio works, I try to be there for every event, competition, in coaching them, prepping them for things, right down to working with them on their marching music if they have questions or need help with that. Otherwise, I'm prepping them for their year-round competitions such as UIL events, region band, those sorts of things. But my favorite event, which we just had, which not everyone does or necessarily knows about, is a studio recital. And that is always before the Texas State Solo and Ensemble competition for my students who are advancing, so they get a chance to play and everyone gets to enjoy playing for their friends and family. So that's something in particular that the studio looks forward to, and it's just an event where we can come together. If they play, then we have a reception and have a nice fellowship afterwards. So it's been a really special event every year for the past probably over 10 years now. We've had a studio recital.
Wow. How many students do you currently have in your private studio?
Currently, I have 18.
That's a full load for sure. And talk about their successes. I know you've had several students that have gone all the way to All-State. For those listeners out there that may not be familiar with All-State, well, All-Region, All-State, talk about that and your success there.
Sure. The All-State and All-Region process, over the past many years, I've had students who have learned to audition and play very well. And part of that, of course, their reward in auditioning for Region Band is band placement, where they get to, they earn kind of like a concert where they get to take a day or two out of school and work with a fabulous band director, conductor, and learn a whole program of music, and then again perform it is the reward, is the concert for friends and family. And then for those who play and audition at an elite level, will advance to the all-state organizations, both bands and orchestra. And over the years, I have had several students to make these organizations, and extreme dedication that they have shown and progress on their instruments to play at that level. And the TMEA system in particular in Texas is incredibly competitive and difficult to make one of those organizations. So for many of my students, that's their ultimate goal in high school, is to make an all-state organization. And it's achievable, but it is very challenging and very competitive.
A lot of dedication there. And that's been held in San Antonio for years and years and years and years.
That's right.
So it's always fun that time of year when TMEA is coming around to hear all the excitement out there. What was it like? You had a couple of students, I kind of chuckled, and we will not name names. We had one student of yours that we were ready for Lubbock Symphony Orchestra, Lubbock Youth Orchestra rehearsal side by side, and he was nowhere to be had. And I laugh at, we have to have some humor here.
Yes.
And the youth orchestra manager had reached out to him, and he basically said he wasn't coming. And the next thing I know, he's walking in the door. Clearly, the instructor, the teacher was able to get to him. So how have students changed today versus back when we were in school? Because heaven forbid, and we didn't have these cell phone devices. So talk about what it was like to work with your students, and then also how you have to continue to keep them motivated and on their game.
Yes. Each year, my students that want to dedicate their time to the Lubbock Youth Orchestra, which I highly encourage and promote. It's an organization that I love and believe in. And for my students that want to take the extra time and dedicate to those rehearsals and, of course, learning the orchestral music, it's a privilege and a thrill for me. That's where I love to live, in that area. And for situations where you have kids where they're so busy in so many activities and you're trying to hone them in on learning orchestral music, it does take a lot of dedication, and lessons absolutely will encompass learning and working on the orchestral repertoire that they're learning. But yeah, cell phones are amazing now. So if a student, forgets that there's a rehearsal, the teacher can text them and say, maybe you should hustle on over.
If you want to be on stage on Saturday night, you will be here for every rehearsal beginning on Tuesday night. Yeah. What was it like to be on stage? This is a new tradition for the Lubbock Symphony. We've done it before in the past, but we have the commitment of our music conductor, David Cho. Certainly, I think the principals all loved it. I know it was a whole lot of work for y'all, but talk about the satisfaction and getting to sit on stage that week, and then for the concert on Saturday night for the side-by-side.
The side-by-side was really a lot of fun, and I loved the fact that we took a dedicated program to incorporate and include the kids. I know, speaking for my two kids in particular that were able to join us for this event. They loved every minute of it. They learned from the entire flute section. Great ideas, great tips, motivation, on the spot suggestions and hints and things. And I love the process. And I love that this is an event that I think it's going to be a big motivator and help with recruitment for the organization. And I love that my kids were on board. They were so excited. And after and during the week of rehearsals and then the performance, it was just all smiles. And they just were thrilled to be a part of it and to play alongside us. So that is a huge reward to see the progress and growth during a week with your kids. They're sharing that with you, and they just thoroughly enjoyed it. So I think it was a terrific idea, and I look forward to next year's program as well.
Kim, this fall, you'll be one of our guest artists for our Lubbock Symphony Chamber Orchestra on Saturday, September 19th at Buddy Holly Hall in the Crickets Theater. Talk about the Mozart Concerto for Flute and Harp.
Sure. The Mozart Flute and Harp Duet is actually a piece I performed when I was working on my master's degree at Tech. And I was able to perform that concerto with a really talented harpist at the time named Adriana Horn. And it's kind of just a favorite piece. Flute and harp are just such a perfect combination. And Rachel Mazzico and I have played together many, many occasions and over the years, and we just enjoy each other. And we started talking about what it would be like to have the privilege to play the Mozart with the Lubbock Chamber Orchestra. And putting that into motion has been a thrill. And I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to play this work again. The entire work, of course, all three movements, including learning some fabulous cadenzas, which Rachel and I are going to begin looking through and seeing what we'd like to do and play some things together. This week, in fact, we're going to get together. So the Mozart is already under construction. I'm working on it, practicing feverishly, and I'm really excited to renew this piece for myself and play again alongside with Rachel and the Lubbock Chamber Orchestra. It is quite an honor.
Well, I know our patrons are going to love it. And the intimacy, I think, of the Crickets Theater is the perfect place for it. So
I agree.
I look forward to September 19th. Kim, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? Boy, the last 29 years that I've known you, they've flown by, and it's been quite fun. And what are your goals for the Lubbock Symphony as we celebrate 80 years this season?
I can't believe, that's a big anniversary. You know, for 10 years down the road, I see myself doing what I've been doing, collaborating with students and working with them one-on-one, helping them to achieve their goals with competitions. That's just really where I feel most at home, is working with my kids in that setting. And symphony-wise, I always look forward to new repertoire and the things that we bring to our audience that they love to hear. I think that's a really important part of it. And of course, our expanded programming and all the programs that we offer in the repertoire, I always look forward to seeing what's coming. So I guess from 10 years now, I don't know, maybe I'll have to make a little list of a couple of pieces I would love to do.
Exactly. And Kim, where can people find you if they have a sixth grader that's starting in band or orchestra, or even younger than that? How can they reach out to you?
I'd be happy to chat with them about that. If they want to reach out to the Lubbock Symphony office for contact information, email, I would be happy to share that and chat with parents on that subject at any time. So maybe just starting off with the Symphony office would be best.
That would be perfect. You are welcome to call our office at 806-762-1688. Kim, thank you for joining me today. I so appreciate it. And it's always fun to chat and catch up.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate being here today.
The LSO Celebrate America concert is Saturday, May 23rd at 7:30 p.m. at the Buddy Holly Hall of Performing Arts and Sciences. Be sure and join us at 6 p.m. for Hannah Jackson and her band Under the Bird's Tail on the East End. A special thank you to our concert sponsors, Armstrong, Double T Smiles, and United Supermarkets for supporting this event. Our friends at Armstrong will be providing hot dogs for our guests at 6 p.m. Come join us. You can find the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra on social media, and to purchase tickets, visit our website at lubbocksymphony.org. And be sure to download the classical 105.7 app so you never miss an episode of Cliff Notes. Make it a great day.